Yeah.
All right, so it is being recorded. Thank you. And really great warm welcome to Newerites, our classmates, as well as new friends, Rotary Club and others from Bombay and elsewhere. So first of all, wish to truly begin with kind of a disclaimer, which is that this is the first Zoom session we are having, which is open to all friends and family members of our classmates, because this is otherwise it's a graduating class from New Era School. And the reason is that we think that this is a very important topic, and also the friends and family members are going to be the first responders. So even from that perspective, we need them to be well informed. So we, the world, just celebrated Valentine's Day just a few days ago, February 14th. And February is considered the month of love and was celebrated with many greetings, lots of WhatsApp messages, and heart-shaped emojis and heart-shaped cookies and so forth. So I did get curious, which is what is the origin of this connection of love and romance with the heart? Is it really a scientific fact, or is it just some romantic notion? Also, when did this shape of two lobes symbolizing heart with a point become popular? And as it appears, and Akshay can correct me, that I think it's very different from the shape of the organ. So let's kind of find out. So Greek philosophers agreed that the heart was linked to our strongest emotions, including love. And the ancient times, the Romans held a very curious belief about the heart, which is that there was a vein that extends from the fourth finger of the left hand directly to the heart. And this, they called it the vena amoris. Even though this idea was based upon incorrect knowledge of human anatomy, it persisted. And as we all know, that the groom is told to place a ring on the bride's fourth finger because of that vein. So in 1350 or so, the first known image of the heart icon with, again, these two lobes and a point appeared. And it made its debut in a manuscript titled The Romance of Alexander, which was written in the French dialect Picardy. And moving forward, few centuries later, almost in 1977, the heart icon underwent yet another transformation when it, interestingly enough, it became a verb. I love and why. That was created to boost morale for the city that I live in. And now there are, of course, 30 more different emojis containing heart. And I suspect this heart image will continue to evolve in many unknown ways for years to come. And as we know, when the words do fail us, we fall back on signs. We add heart emoji to all our emails, texts, WhatsApp messages, notes. We give gifts with also heart shape. We make heart-shaped cookies and so forth for children. So this continued global popularity of the heart as a symbol for love alerts us that we should take care of the heart. So let us understand heart. Let us keep it healthy, young, and energized. Now, age can affect every part of your body, and especially the heart. In the 60s, about 20% of men and 10% of women have had heart disease. By the time age 80 arrives, these numbers almost double, mid-30% for men and almost 20% for women. And if we wait until our 80s to start thinking about our heart health, it will be too late. So we think information is vital. Prevention is really an important concept of any age. Except that we get so bogged down by plethora of information which is out there in this digital world. What to believe and what to discard is a huge challenge. In fact, I was surprised to find that a study was published actually just last year in February in the Journal of American Geriatric Society, which said that many older adults in USA take daily pills to improve their heart health, in fact, maybe taking wrong medicines. So that was a bit of a surprise, including the regimen of daily baby aspirin or taking statin. This whole strategy of secondary prevention, is it really valid? What should one do when one feels as if some symptom related to heart attack? So while it is lovely timing to associate the month of Valentine's Day, February, and its heart-shaped treats, let us focus today on making this a priority, which is to understand heart and take care of it. And not just today, but every day, all year long, not just during the shortest month of February. And I'm sure Akshay Bhai will agree. In fact, Indian Heart Association also says that India has one of the highest burdens of cardiovascular disease worldwide. So needless to emphasize, healthy heart is central to overall good health. So now that I think we are all convinced of the importance of good health heart, let us take a quick poll, right? Let's just find out how much we really know. And by the way, the responses are anonymous. So please don't worry, you will not be judged or graded.
Yeah.
So with that, let's do that. So, and I do request, I think people ought to be on mute, but again, if not,
why don't you mute them?
So I think it would just make
Sitaram, please mute yourself.
So it might just make it a little easier. Okay, so we are going to start. Akshay Bhai, are you good? Akshay Bhai, please kindly stay unmuted, actually.
Yes, yes. And how are they going to respond with the
They will.
buttons?
All right, so good thinking. Thank you. So we are going to have a very quick poll, just a set of questions that Akshay Bhai has so kindly forwarded. And this is just to see what do we think, right? And each question will appear on your screen. And I think you should be able to click the answer. I'm going to allow about 30 seconds for each one of you to read the questions. It's a multiple choice, very easy to follow. Just click on the answer you think is the right one, and then we'll see how it goes. And we are going to try this for the first time. So if it doesn't work, we'll move on. Okay, so let's start.
Oh.
So I hope all of you can see it. Keep yourself muted. And click on the answer. We have 10 more seconds. Few more yet are thinking, I guess.
You have only one question so far, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. All right, I'm going to end this. So whoever is yet thinking, is still thinking, kindly choose. All right, let's see. So from the poll, 23% thought the false is the right answer. And the right answer is B, that it is true. So we are glad 72% of the people considered as chose the right answer. Okay, we are moving to the question 2. say normal condition, our pulse rate is, and then please kindly read through the
We are
four.
not seeing the second question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Now, is it better?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
now we can see.
You can
Thank
read the
you,
question,
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 more seconds. I think some people are still thinking. Okay, we shall close on this poll. And all right, let's see. Say normal condition, our pulse rate is, and the right answer is C, same as our heart rate.
Good. The majority have correctly answered both the
Correct.
questions.
Akshay Bhai, this is
Great.
a well-informed group, it seems, right?
Yes. Right.
Okay, let's try. So this is question 3.
Yeah, you can read the question.
Okay, great. If you are alone driving a car and start getting chest pain, you should start coughing. And the 3 possible answers are true, false, and maybe. Okay, couple of more seconds. This is actually a very important
Question. Yes.
question and information. One may not have ever thought, actually. All right, so we are going to end the poll. So Akshay Bhai, what do you say? That in fact, the correct answer is B, false. And I'm sure there is an explanation, but which we are not going to get into right now. But this really shows that what we think actually is not what we should be doing.
Oh, myth. It's a myth.
Okay, moving on to question 4. The question is, with every heartbeat, the right ventricle pumps out blood to 4 options: entire body, the lungs, the upper body, the lower body. Okay, 10 more seconds. Akshay Bhai, this is a tricky question.
He must unmute himself.
You hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Okay, a few more seconds. Okay, we'll close the poll for question number 4. Let's see. So most or more than half the attendings have voted for the entire body, which unfortunately turns out to be an incorrect answer. The right ventricle pumps our blood to the lungs. Okay,
Oh.
so Akshay Bhai,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so that's again, one of those things
Yeah.
which we really don't know.
The left ventricle. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So question
Yeah.
5, which of this is true? And I won't read because there are 4 possibilities, all
We can't see
related
the question.
to cholesterol. Which of this is true? Select LDL,
Yeah.
cholesterol is good.
No, we don't
cholesterol-
see the question.
Oh, my mistake. Sorry.
Now.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, please. Which of this is true? Which of the following 4 answers? So kindly take your time and respond. So 10 more seconds. Okay, we'll close in 2 seconds. So Akshay Bhai, you want to comment? What is the right answer? Question 5.
Yes. Yes. This is a question which many patients ask me when they see the lipid profile report. And what we have found is that there is a great correlation between LDL cholesterol and heart disease. Not a complete correlation, but a very great correlation. So LDL cholesterol is a bad cholesterol, and the answer is B.
Okay, so half of them did get B, so that's good to know.
Right, good. Half of it get. Right.
Correct. So now moving on to question 6. And the question is, which food label is most heart healthy? And there are 3 possible answers. So 10 more seconds. Okay.
Good
So,
again.
yeah, Akshay Bhai,
Again,
please.
Yeah, 55% have correctly answered 0 trans fat, because trans fat is the worst kind of intake or food that raises the cholesterol and causes heart disease. Sugar is the next, which is bad. The low fat is okay, and in 0 cholesterol is of no meaning, because most oils do not have cholesterol, they have fats, because the fat is the problem. The cholesterol, pure cholesterol intake is a very small amount that we have in our food. So 0 trans fat is the correct answer. Good, 55% got it.
So that's very good. Okay, yep. We have only 3 more to go. So here is question 7. Before going for a blood pressure checkup, you should skip the morning dose of blood pressure medication. Now, this is a good, tricky question.
True.
Okay, 5 more seconds. All right, we'll close the poll. So again, Akshay Bhai.
Good. I think 72% of people have correctly answered. You should not skip the morning dose. You must continue to take, because only then the doctor will know what is the response to your medication. So good. Majority have said the correct answer B, that is false. Right.
That's great. Now question 8, which is at our age, which is more detrimental to our health? So again, there are 4 possible answers.
The question is not on the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. Let me see. It is,
Question number 9, I believe.
yeah.
No,
this-
8.
8 I can see on the
somehow-
screen. So I can see on the screen.
Okay, some could not. So I'm moving on to question 9. And
9, okay.
perhaps we can go back. If measured in the correct manner, your blood pressure is the 1. And then there are potential 4 answers.
Yeah, your true BP is the one taken at home, taken at your workplace, taken in the hospital, or taken while watching a horror film.
Taken at home. Mhm.
Disappeared again.
Oh, is it? I'm sorry. I don't know. Let me see if I can. I know it's quickly getting on to sharing results. I'm sorry, the Zoom. So again, right? Majority
Yeah.
do know that it
Correct.
will be taken at home. So that's great.
Good.
And then we will move
Yeah.
to last question. And which is, once you are on BP medications, you can never stop them. This is a good question again. Okay.
हेलो कल 3 चाहिए हाँ 3
Concha.
Okay, so a few more seconds. So let's see what the results are. Akshay Bhai, this is the last one.
Right. And both true and false were neck to neck.
Neck to
But,
neck. And the right answer
Yeah.
is,
Right answer is false. You
False.
can stop them under guidance. So the correct answer is false. But this is the impression which people have, that once you're on medications, you can never stop them. But that is a wrong impression, and that is false. Okay.
and
So,
this is very good to know, because sometimes
Yes,
people
yes.
hesitate, right? To get
Yes,
on to
yes,
medication thinking it will be
Correct.
lifelong, which it is not.
Correct. Correct.
Okay,
Right.
wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you, Akshay Bhai. You have
Thank
a
you.
very informed audience here.
Yes.
And with
Very
this,
good.
I'm going to invite Sachin Nanavati, who everyone knows, of course, to please welcome and thank on our behalf the entire New Era classmates of 67 and everyone else, to please welcome Akshay Bhai, as well as please kindly introduce him.
Thank you, Asmita. Yes, welcome everybody. All my buddies here from all over, various kinds of friends, various contacts. And I'd like to introduce Akshay, who is the speaker today. Dr. Akshay Mehta, MD, Medicine, and DM Cardiology, is an interventional cardiologist practicing at Juhu, Mumbai since last 30 years. He is affiliated to various hospitals such as Nanavati Super Speciality, Holy Family Hospital, BSES MG Hospital, Bharatiya Ayurveda Hospital, and Breach Candy Hospital, where he has cath lab privileges. Although a major part of his work involves coronary heart disease and interventions for it, such as coronary angiography and angioplasty, his other areas of experience and expertise are hypertension, cholesterol problems, and heart failure. A man of keen academic interest, he has authored various books for cardiologists and the lay public. As an active Rotarian, he is a chartered member of Rotary Club of Bombay Airport. He endeavors to spread awareness about heart health amongst the lay public through seminars, workshops, and his writings. By sharing his knowledge and experience, his endeavor is to remove fear, instill hope, assist people make healthy choices, and help them heal themselves. With regards to the medication and interventions, he encourages shared decisions making with his patient and believes that healing is more successful when there is an active participation between a doctor and a patient, and when the mind is given as much attention as body. Well, this is his professional introduction. Apart from that, I know him as a human being. Akshay is a very, very, I should say, he's a gentleman. He's a great human being with varied interests. He has got interest in music. He sings so well. He has got interest in literature, and he runs a literature club. And he's also, he was once upon a time learning sitar. So the man has got a lot of romance in him, and he's the right man to talk to us about romancing the heart and keeping our heart fit. I present to you Dr. Akshay Mehta. Akshay, please.
I just want to interject, which is that there will be a set of good amount of time at the end of Akshay Bhai's presentation, talk to us for questions. In the meantime, and during this session, kindly use the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. And please specifically text your questions to me, Asmita, or Sachin, since two of us can read. And at the end of the talk, we'll make sure that all these questions are presented and get answered. So thank you for that. And Akshay Bhai, please, with that.
Okay. Thank you. And am I audible and visible?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So thanks, Asmitaji, and thanks, Sachin, for that wonderful introduction. And you see, today's meeting has a special meaning for me. For the Newerites, it would be a little surprising to know why is that. And not only because my dear friend Sachin invited me, but also due to the fact that 70 years ago, my father was a teacher in your school.
Oh.
And not only that, he was a teacher to your classmate, Mr. Harsh Mariwala's parents, father and his uncles. And not only that, but Mr. Harsh Mariwala's granddad took him out of the school and took him into his fold in the Bombay Oil Industries, which gave birth to Saffola.
Oh.
So there is a connection, and New Era has a great place in my heart. And when Sachin said this, sent this invitation, I was very, very happy because I could connect with New Era again. So anyway, thanks Asmitaji also for inviting me. And I think we should start the topic proper. I will share my screen so that we can understand the subject better.
Thank you.
Okay, I hope you all can see the screen. Hello.
No. Not yet, Akshay Bhai.
Not yet? Okay, I'll just try again. Okay, yeah, okay. Now I think you'll be able to. Can you?
Yeah, here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you don't
so
mind.
Romancing the Heart.
Yes, perfect.
Can you see?
Yes, we can.
Okay, right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we are talking on, we have to start romancing the heart, which means we take care of the heart. And you know, in romance, you place the needs of the other above your own. So that when you want to take that extra bit of ice cream or chocolate, you have to ask your heart, can I take it? And only if the heart allows, you should take it. So that's the romance you must have with your heart. Anyway, let's start with a clip. And this was a clip some years ago, and it was very good one for education. So just tell me at the end what happened exactly, right? So this fellow read some news in the newspaper, maybe the stock market or something. Okay, so so what was that? What, that was a heart attack? Well, if you say it was a heart attack, that's wrong. The correct answer is that it was a cardiac arrest. And it is very crucial to know this difference between a heart attack and a cardiac arrest, because there is a crucial difference between how you respond to a heart attack and how you respond to a cardiac arrest. So let us learn that. And before we do that, let us go to our schools and school days and learn how the heart functions in a very short, simple manner. As you know, the heart is a muscular pump, a hollow muscular pump containing blood, which is pumped out to the lungs and to the different parts of the body. There are four chambers: the right ventricle, the left ventricle, the atrium are the upper chambers, etc., etc. Let's not go much into the details, but the whole drama of heart attack occurs in this chamber called the left ventricle, because that has to do the maximum work of pushing out blood to the entire body through a large tube. So I hope my voice is clear. Sachin?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay, so now let us go to a simplified diagram. A simplified diagram in which I have shown only the left ventricle, the one chamber. Now with every heartbeat, these are the muscular wall of the heart. It contracts and pushes out the blood which is contained in it to the entire body through a large tube called the aorta, right? And that distributes blood to the entire body. Now, this heart muscle that pumps blood requires oxygen and nutrition like any other heart muscle or any other muscle in the body. And it gets this nutrition and oxygen through the branches of aorta called coronary arteries. Corona means a crown. So coronary arteries sit on the heart and start from the aorta and distribute blood to the heart muscle. So these are our lifelines. And in actual picture looks something like this: the left and the right coronary artery arising from the aorta, in which there is blood, and that blood is distributed to the entire heart muscle on both sides, right? So this is the picture of a artery. Now, when we are born, if you slit open the coronary artery, it looks very clear and open. And if you cut it in cross section, you can see it as a nice smooth lining without any obstruction. But as we grow older, and with diseases like hypertension, diabetes, habits like smoking, high cholesterol, etc., what happens is that the inner lining gets embedded with some fatty substance called a fatty plaque. And that makes the lumen or the passage narrow. As you can see here, you can see here in the cross section, and this goes on slowly and steadily. Now, the disease process, as I have shown, goes on slow and steady, but heart attacks don't come slow and steady. Heart attacks come suddenly. Cardiac arrest comes suddenly. So how does that happen? That happens because of the following reason. Supposing your coronary artery is very mildly blocked. Mild means that the diameter reduction by the fatty plaque is less than 50%. That means the passage is still open by 50%. And when this happens, you don't know you have disease. Your cardiogram is normal. Your stress test also may be normal. And you may feel you are okay, but there is a fatty deposit. Now, due to certain stresses, sometimes the surface of this fatty deposit can break or ulcerate. And what can happen, like a boil on the skin, which ruptures, this surface ruptures and it cracks open, and the flowing blood sits there, stops there, and forms a clot, as if to seal the plaque. But in effort to sealing the plaque, the clot obstructs the artery, and the whole artery is obstructed, and the blood flow stops. So what was a mild narrowing has become a complete narrowing. There was a 50% narrowing, which is mild. You see, less than 70% narrowing is mild, but that 50% became 100% within minutes. And that is what happens in a heart attack. So what happens in a heart attack is that a obstruction in an artery stops the flow of blood in that artery, and the part of heart that is served by that artery gets damaged, and that damage causes chest pain, and that is called a heart attack. Okay. So heart attack means a portion of heart muscle is damaged, there is chest pain, the heart is beating, the patient is conscious, he's feeling the pain, he can reach the hospital. Unfortunately, about 25% of patients with heart attack have a cardiac arrest within an hour or so. So that is one problem. But majority of patients of heart attack with chest pain, with a damage in the going on in one part of the heart, can reach the hospital. Now comes the interesting story, that though the blockage over here in this coronary artery occurs within few minutes, the damage to the heart muscle takes time. The damage starts from the inner layers to the outer layer and takes few hours. For example, 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, various people, different timings. So as a result, we have a window of opportunity. And that is that if you open this blockage and allow the blood to flow, you can minimize this progressive damage. So that means if you, for example, open this block within 1 hour of the heart attack, then a very minimum amount of heart muscle will be damaged. Whereas if you open this block after 12 hours or after 24 hours, then a major portion of the damage has already occurred. And that is why we insist on opening this artery as early as possible. And how do we do that? If you reach the hospital within 1 hour or 2 hours, a clot dissolving drug can do magic. It can dissolve the clot and at least start the blood flowing. To do immediately angiography, do balloon angioplasty and implant a stent, which can open the artery. Or many times we do both. We inject also and then do angioplasty. So these are the methods to open the artery. But open the artery has to be very quick, within 2 hours to 3 hours. So when you do that, you can see that very small amount of muscle is damaged. A large portion of heart muscle is saved from damage. And that is the importance of opening the artery as early as possible. I hope up to this, everything is clear.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And when you do that, you prevent
Yes.
complications like damage to a large portion of the heart muscle, which causes heart enlargement. You must have heard of people having enlarged hearts due to damage. So this is prevented when you open the artery faster and save the muscle, right? So summarizing, heart attack is due to blockage of an artery, causing death of a portion of heart muscle, which causes chest pain in a conscious patient. And hence the treatment is to hospitalize the person to open the artery. But for that, two things are required. You have to recognize that there is a heart attack and you have to act within minutes. So the question is, how do you recognize early enough? So there is a question come up. Heart attack starts as severe pain in chest. True or false? Well, it's not true. The characteristic Hollywood and Bollywood picture of heart attack, which a patient clutching his chest with severe pain, is not correct. What happens is that heart attack starts as a mild or moderate discomfort in the chest, which increases in minutes and lasts more than 15 minutes. So it's in moderate to start with, and that is why many people ignore it and take time to respond. And it starts as a moderate discomfort, and then it becomes painful, and then it increases slowly within a few minutes and then lasts more than 15-20 minutes. And what does it feel like? Usually uncomfortable pressure, squeezing, fullness or tightness or even burning. The person feels difficulty in breathing. He feels like there is a tight bear hug on him or an elephant on his chest. There may be sweating, vomiting, or a pale gray, cool skin. Less commonly, many people, especially women, have a feeling of gas, lump, indigestion, or burning like acidity, which spreads to shoulders or arms, etc. And where do you feel the pain of heart attack? Anywhere between the navel and the upper jaw, and from the right arm to the left arm. Now, you must remember these areas because the chest pain is not localized over a pinpoint or a finger point. It is more generalized, most commonly in the center or the left side of the chest, but sometimes even on right side, right arm, right shoulder, left shoulder, throat, jaws, back, neck, even behind this chest, that means the back and the upper abdomen. But if somebody has pain in the head or pain in the lower abdomen or pain in the thighs, that is not a heart attack. So the heart attack areas are from the navel to the upper jaws and from one hand to the other hand. So these are the areas where the pain of heart attack can occur. Now, what to do when you have a heart attack or when your relative has a heart attack? Don't wait longer than a few minutes. Inform your family members about your symptoms, or if you don't have any family members, maybe your neighbor, friend, anybody, if nobody is there, then call the cardiac ambulance. But if the cardiac ambulance is going to take time in our city and country, it takes time. First of all, you must get it, and then it has to travel fast. So that's a little difficult. So the best other method is, if you can't get it within 5-10 minutes, be taken to a hospital as fast as possible. Or if you're alone, catch a rickshaw, catch a taxi, tell somebody to take you and go to the nearest hospital as fast as possible. And while going, chew a soluble aspirin if you are not allergic to it, because when you take aspirin, the drugs that are given in the hospital would act much better. So you must keep a chewable aspirin in your house if required. And also, if you know that your blood pressure is normal and not low, you can take a nitroglycerin tablet under the tongue, like Sorbitrate, but that is not as much important as taking a soluble aspirin, chewing aspirin and swallowing it. So this is what you do, the action to be taken whenever you have a chest pain resembling heart attack. Even if you are not certain that it is a heart attack, it could be a false alarm. There is no harm. Reach the hospital. At the most, they'll keep you for an hour or 2 hours and charge you some money and send you home. But nothing much is lost. But if it was a heart attack, it would have saved you and your heart muscle. So don't wait longer than few minutes. Don't wait for doctor to come home. Don't wait for your relatives to wake up, etc. No, go to the hospital. Nearest is the best. Hence, in a heart attack, recognize the symptoms and rush to the hospital as fast as you can. So complications or damage after a heart attack are prevented by early recognition and action, that means hospitalization, and prompt opening of the artery, that means a prompt treatment within few hours of chest pain. Then what is cardiac arrest? As this gentleman fell down after reading the newspaper. So heart attack is, as we saw, a problem of tubes. The tubes carrying blood and the blockage causing damage to the heart muscle. Whereas a cardiac arrest is a little different thing. It is like switching off of electricity and the heart just stops pumping blood. It rather shivers rather than pumping. So because there is no effective pumping, the blood doesn't circulate or doesn't flow to the body. And the organ which gets damaged the first is the brain, the most sensitive organ. And if it does not get blood within 3 to 5 minutes, it starts getting damaged. And if it doesn't get blood in 10 minutes, it dies. So many times the problem in cardiac arrest is when a person collapses, people are so scared, so shocked that they just take a decision to take the body or take the person to the hospital without doing anything else. And in that, a precious time is lost and the patient is brought brain dead to the hospital. So that should not occur because the brain has to get blood immediately. So should you rush to the hospital? No. First, start the treatment on the spot. And what are the principles of treatment? Saving the brain. How do you save the brain? By pumping the heart. So when you push the heart and pump it, some blood will go to the brain and keep it alive. So you have to keep the brain alive by pumping the heart. And then, of course, you have to revive the heart and make it beat again, natural. So these are the principles of treatment. Giving blood to the brain and reviving the heart. Okay, so how do you do this? But first, before doing all this, when you are on the street, when you are on the railway station, airport, somebody collapses, you must know that it is cardiac arrest. So what are the ways of recognizing cardiac arrest? Firstly, you're witnessing a person suddenly collapse for no apparent reason. That is important. So witnessed collapse is important. Suppose you are going on a morning walk in the garden and you see somebody lying there since many hours, you don't know when. So that you cannot do anything. But when you have witnessed a person suddenly collapse for no apparent reason, and the person is unresponsive to shaking, shake both the shoulders and ask him, hello, are you okay? Are you okay? No response. So the person is unconscious. Then look at the breathing. Where do you look at the breathing? The upper abdomen and lower chest. See if it is rising or falling. If it is not, then it is not breathing. And if he is not breathing and unconscious and not responding, that is cardiac arrest. If you know how to take the pulse, you can do that. But that is not compulsory. What is important is these three things. You witness a collapse without any reason, without any injury. He is unresponsive to your shouting or shaking, and he has stopped breathing. Breathing is very important because there may be people who may collapse, but may be breathing normally. Like people with low sugar, like people with common faint. These are the people who may collapse, but they are breathing. So that is not cardiac arrest. So the way to recognize is these three things: witnessing collapse, unresponsiveness of the person, and lack of breathing when it is watched for 5 seconds. Okay. So then what do you do? Start action. And what is the action? First action is call for help. With your phone, with shouting, you call for help. And the reason you call for help is 2 reasons. One is people, if they are nearby, they can help you in this cardiac massage. And second thing is they can get the shock machine, which is used to revive the heart, which is called AED or a defibrillator. So somebody has to get it, or you have to phone to get it. So call for help is the first thing. And once you have done that, you start CPR. And how do you start CPR? The first step is take the victim to a firm, safe place. For example, if the victim has collapsed on the center of the road, take him to the side, to the footpath, so that you are safe and he is also safe. For example, if the person has collapsed on his bed at home, the soft bed, you cannot do CPR on a soft bed. So take the person on the hard floor and then start CPR. And what do? You take position on either side, either the left or right side of the patient. Kneel down behind him, next to him. Put your one palm on the other palm so that the heel of the hand is at the bottom of the sternum here. Okay. And your hand is straight, elbows are straight. The whole strength of the shoulders is transmitted to the heel of the hand, which pushes the sternum, the lower breastbone, lower part of the breastbone, as you can see here in this picture, and start compressing at 100 beats per minute. Every time it should be 2 inches deep and strong, and allow the chest to recoil after you push. So this is the way you do chest compressions, and you can go on for a minute or 2, but you will get tired. So you must tell the onlookers, okay, look what I'm doing, and you also please do it. And we can do turn by turn. So turn by turn, these compressions have to go on. And till what time do you do this? Till the time the defibrillator, the shock machine comes, which you have called for. So when the shock machine comes, what do? The shock machine has pads, which sticking pads, which can be stuck on the chest, on the right upper chest and the left lower chest. Okay. So first thing is you do that. Then you switch on the machine. Now the interesting thing is that this machine can be used by anybody. You don't have to be a doctor. So you don't have to be a doctor to revive a patient to life. You can use it because there are prompts in the machine. Once you have put the pads and you switched on the machine says, okay, don't touch the victim. I am analyzing the rhythm. The machine is analyzing the cardiac rhythm if the person has any rhythm. And then the machine says, okay, please give a shock and stay clear. So you press a button to give a shock. So when you give a shock, it is possible that the heart revives, the patient opens his eyes and start moving. So then you have succeeded in reviving a person. But sometimes it doesn't happen so fast. So then what you do is you again start cardiac compressions and then again give shock. So compressions, shock, compressions, shock, 2 minutes of compression and then shock. So this should go on till the medical team arrives or the patient wakes up. Okay. So this is how the cardiac, the action has to be taken after recognizing cardiac arrest. So the first thing is call for help. Second, start CPR. Third, use the defibrillator or the shock machine, right? So to summarize the differences between heart attack and cardiac arrest, heart attack due to a blocked artery, it is a plumber's problem, plumbing problem, okay? What happens is that the patient gets chest pain and the treatment is to open the artery in the hospital and take aspirin on the way. Whereas in cardiac arrest, it is like switching off a current. Heart suddenly stops beating, so the person collapses. The treatment is CPR, and that should be on the spot. And seconds count over here to save the brain and then save the heart, right? So as you can see, there are three prominent personalities: our dear President, Mrs. Rima Lagu, Dr. Sinha, a very eminent gynecologist who there was marathoning and suddenly collapsed on the road and nothing could be done. So these people have passed away without treatment that was possible. But we have a success story that I would like to tell you. That this gentleman, Mr. Premnath, I have his permission to tell you this because it is an inspiring story. He was walking on the road at Carter Road, and a non-medical person who was trained in CPR, Mr. Samir, I think his name was, he revived him by giving 2 shocks. And this gentleman, one of the leading architects of the country, is alive and kicking right now, purely because of the knowledge of a lay person who could revive him by giving massage and shocks. The machine was lying at the Otters Club. Somebody ran and got it and gave him shock and revived him. So this kind of success stories we are hoping to achieve by teaching more and more people about CPR and making aids available. Actually, this is very much required because these machines, as you can see, you can see them on the airports, but otherwise elsewhere they are very infrequent to find. And we want to establish more and more AED machines. Maybe with Neurite, your classmates' help, we can do that, and with Rotary's help. Yeah. So now we come to the last topic: is heart attacks. Are they preventable? To what extent? To 10% of heart attacks are preventable, or 90% of heart attacks are preventable? Well, the correct answer is 90% of all these heart attacks are preventable. Okay, and why is that? That is because 90% of heart attacks are due to a reversible cause, and these reversible causes are smoking, lack of fruits and vegetables, lack of exercise, lack of alcohol. This, of course, is a questionable thing, but hypertension, diabetes, abdominal obesity, psychological stress, increased cholesterol, etc. All these factors have 90% of heart attacks. And it has these, out of all these 9 factors, almost half of the factors can be explained on dietary problems. So these are all reversible causes, and hence 90% of heart attacks can be prevented. And I have devised a 3-step formula for this. How can you modify all these risk factors? Well, the simple thing is take few measurements, make few lifestyle changes, and take a few pills also for prevention if required, right? So what are the few measurements you do? There are 5 measurements that are important: blood pressure, blood sugar, lipids or cholesterol, obesity measurement, especially the abdominal obesity, and cardiovascular fitness has to be measured, right? So blood pressure ideally should be less than 130/80 at home or after repeated measurements in the clinic. And when you go for the first time blood pressure measurement, just check the blood pressure in both the arms and the arm and the leg and see if there is any difference, because that can give you a clue whether you have got arterial disease or not. And your fasting sugar should be less than 100 and post meal less than 140. Your 3 months HbA1c should be less than 5.9. And then your cholesterol. What is normal cholesterol? Well, for an average person, total cholesterol should be less than 200, LDL should be less than 100, HDL-C should be more than 50, and triglyceride should be less than 150. Now, having said that, you must know that the desirable level of cholesterol or LDL cholesterol specifically varies from person to person. A person at low risk, like a young man who is very active, doesn't smoke, has no family history, has no diabetes, no blood pressure, his LDL cholesterol could be up to 116, not a problem. But if he has some risk, like he has hypertension or a family history, then it should be less than 100. But people with high risk or very high risk, like people with multiple risk factors like all these, in them, it would be better that the LDL cholesterol is less than 70 or less than 55. So there is nothing like normal cholesterol. What may be normal for you may be abnormal for me. For me, the desirable cholesterol could be 55. For you, the desirable cholesterol could be 100. So let us not talk always of normal or abnormal. Let us talk about what is desirable. So that is very important. What about obesity? One measure of obesity is body mass index, the weight divided by height in meters squared. And obesity can be defined as more than 23 kilograms per meter square. But this is a very rough idea of obesity. A better idea is measuring your waist above the navel and your hip circumference. As long as the waist circumference is less than the hip circumference, it's a healthy sign. But if your waist circumference becomes equal or more than the hip, then that is kind of welcoming trouble, right? So that is the important thing, obesity. So the ideal obesity, ideal waist circumference is males less than 35% and waist to hip ratio less than 0.9. Women less than 31 inches and less than 0.8 is the ratio. What about cardiovascular fitness? We have found that people who have good cardiovascular fitness, and in that one simple measure is the walking speed. And the interesting thing is that this fitness or this walking speed can be increased gradually. So if you are a slow walker, doesn't mean you remain a slow walker. Unless you have some ankle sprain or your knee joint problem or a back problem, you should get it corrected and start walking faster and faster. And that is a measure of your cardiovascular fitness. And people who walk faster do well in terms of cardiovascular problems in future. And one of the studies found this interestingly, that life purpose is one of the determinants of your walking speed. And as you can see, Gandhiji always walked fast, and he had a great purpose in him. So cardiovascular fitness is an important measurement that you must do. So blood pressure, sugar, lipids, obesity, especially abdominal obesity, and cardiovascular fitness. These are the measurements you take maybe every year. And there are additional measurements we doctors many times ask. These are some chemicals in the blood: ApoB, high sensitivity CRP, high sensitivity troponins, lipoprotein A. These are some blood tests. Sometimes we ask, we don't ask everybody. And there is a very important test that is come up, which is called coronary artery calcium score. It measures how much calcium you have in your coronary arteries. If you have 0 at our age, we are all 65, 70. And in our age, if you have a 0 calcium, it is a very good sign, right? But if you have calcium, that means you have deposits of atherosclerosis or coronary disease in your heart. So these are additional measurements you can do. Then, of course, a few lifestyle changes: stopping smoking completely, having a proper diet, regular exercise, and reducing your stress, and proper sleep. Sleep is an important factor to consider. And this is the treatment for smoking that one doctor advises, that you just put a patch over your mouth. What e-cigarettes? What about e-cigarettes? E-cigarettes are a complete no-no, so better not to indulge in them. And what about diet? This was a nice picture by the American government, and which correlates very much with our Indian thali. What they did was, the simple way to diet is divide the plate into 4 parts. 1/4 vegetables, 1/4 proteins, now like our sprouts and dals and all. 1/4 our grains, whole grains like wheat, jawar, bajri, etc., millets, and 1/4 fruits and a cup of dairy. So this actually matches very well with our diet, and this is a healthy diet we should have, with lots of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, moderate amount of low-fat food, and very low amounts of sugar or refined starches or trans fats, meats, etc., etc. Right? And regular, moderately vigorous aerobic exercise, and this is medicine, because it cuts down the risk of heart attack by 50% if you are regular. And the benefits start whatever age, like any medicine you take. When you take a medicine, the benefit starts after you take the medicine. So in the same manner, exercise starts giving you benefits whatever age. You start at 80 years of age also, it will benefit you. And the benefits last as long as you do it regularly. Once you stop doing it, the benefits tapers off and disappears in 2 or 3 weeks time. So you have to be regular. And what is regular moderately vigorous aerobic exercise? It has 4 parameters. Frequency, 5 to 7 times a week. Intensity should be such that you can just talk, but you cannot sing. If you can walk and then sing along, then that is not exercise. So you should not be able to sing, but you can just be able to talk, not fluently. Okay, that is the intensity. And the duration, at least 30 minutes every day. And the type of exercise should be aerobic. That means walking, running, cycling, swimming, dancing, where there is a lot of movement. But also you must do some muscle strengthening exercise, because we lose muscle as we grow. So twice or thrice a week, you must do muscle strengthening exercise also. And of course, stress, psychological, financial, health related. And this is a beautiful quote from Dean Ornish's book. Stress comes not only from what we do or what is done to us, but also from how we respond. And how we respond or react in turn comes from how we perceive ourselves. When we perceive ourselves only as isolated and alone, apart from the world, instead of a part of it, then we are likely to feel chronically stressed. Chronic stress in turn can lead to heart disease, both in its direct effect and because of that self-destructive behavior pattern that result. Anything that helps us to transcend and transform that perceived isolation can be healing. So this is Dean Ornish's book. So what are the stress busters? Relaxation, sleep, physical exercise, yoga, meditation, spiritual reading, close benefit and meaningful relationships, very important. Altruism and a sense of purpose in life. So these are the the stress busters in our life that we can adopt. And yoga is very good for the body and also for the mind, because it is conducive to meditation. This gentleman says that right now I'm meditating on how to get out of this position. So that also happens. And there are other enemies in our midst that we don't know, or we actually are oblivious about, like sleeping less, a very big risk factor. If you sleep less and exercise, you are in trouble. Sitting more than 8 hours a day, very, very dangerous. So very important to take intermittent breaks and walk as much as you can. Take the lift, don't take the lift, take the staircase, park your car far away so that you have to walk, etc. Talk on the phone when standing, etc. Not having a proper breakfast is a big problem that people have known to get heart disease if you don't have proper breakfast. So having proper breakfast is very important. Late dinner is a problem because when you have dinners late, you have been overeaten already. So that is also a problem. So these are enemies and which can lead to heart disease. Then many times we hear this story. Doc, my friend had no family history. He had no diabetes, hypertension, never smoked, he exercised regularly, but still he had a heart attack. Why did this happen? Well, sometimes things like very high cholesterol, that can cause it. Or sometimes some unknown stress, lack of sleep can cause it. So we have to many times give pills to many people. If these people are doing regular exercise, they are fit, they don't have risk factors, but still they have some abnormal cholesterol, we may have to give them statins. Aspirin is sometimes useful, but not for all, strictly for very few number of people. And pills for hypertension and diabetes, of course, when required. So the third step is few pills. The first step was few measurements. The second step was few lifestyle changes. And the third step was to take few pills under medical guidance to prevent a heart attack. And many times people question that statins are promoted by the drug companies, and are they good drugs or not? Yes, in appropriate people, when the risk-benefit ratio is discussed with your doctor and you find that the benefit is more than the risk, then it is worth taking, because it not only reduces blood level of cholesterol, but stabilizes and regresses the plaques, the fatty plaques. As you can see, a person who takes statins can regress his fatty plaque by taking statins from this this amount to a smaller amount. Whereas if he doesn't take, then the fatty plaque can grow and create problems. So statins are good drugs for some people, not for all. Now, what about we talked about the modifiable risk factors. That means risk factors or causative factors which can be modified. But there are some factors you can't modify them. You can't change your parents. You can't change your gender. You can't stop aging. So these are factors which you cannot modify. But a very important thing is that with your lifestyle, you can influence the impact of all these factors. For example, even if you have a family history of heart disease, with a proper lifestyle and a proper mental attitude, you can reduce the impact of family history. That is called changing not the genes, but the gene expression. So the gene structure or the DNA you cannot change, but their expression or their workings you can change. So it is very important to know this. And hence, if you have these non-modifiable risk factors like family history, male gender, and aging, and you have all these modifiable factors like lifestyle and blood pressure and all that. And the important thing is that lifestyle not only changes your parameters like blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, but it can also influence these factors which are unchangeable, but their impact can be changed. So that's very important. The lifestyle has a very important effect on your gene expression. So that you must remember. So last point is about the aging, because somebody wanted to know about aging. Well, aging has a different direct effect and indirect effects. And the direct effect of aging on the cardiovascular system is that it causes stiffening of the arteries. Arteries become like steel pipes, and that raises blood pressure. And the heart also becomes stiff and unable to relax, and that causes heart failure. And the treatment is, again, increasing physical activity and calorie restriction. This is now come in a big way of reducing the effect of aging. That means either you reduce the number of calories by 1/3 or do intermittent fasting. And there are some anti-aging pills also which will come in the very near future, which are being studied now. So these are the direct effects of aging on the heart by causing stiff arteries and a stiff heart. And the treatment is physical activity. As we age, we are exposed more and more to the risk factors like blood pressure, diabetes, etc. I'm sorry, my connection is gone.
That's all right. So far, it has worked quite well.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm at the end of the talk. So now, is it audible?
No, audible, yes.
Yes.
We can see the slide, but not hear you.
So 90% of heart attacks can be prevented by. Okay, sorry. Anyway,
Yeah.
No, it's good. Akshay Bhai, go ahead.
okay.
please.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So, as I said, half of the people have warning symptoms, and if you recognize them, you can prevent a heart attack. So a lot of people can be prevented from heart attack. So this is the book that I published recently, and if anybody is interested, it gives more details about heart disease, and one can look at it. And so I think that's the end of my talk. Thank you very much. And if there are any questions.
Yeah, so definitely.
Thank you.
Akshay Bhai, you can stop sharing the screen if you don't mind. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Akshay Bhai, really, I must say, you explained such a complex topic, and many of these aspects we've been all very unsure of. So this is very, very helpful. So there are some questions, some got answered along the way. So I'm going to start with things such as an important question that was not necessarily explained. So one question is, how reliable are carotid scans in determining artery blockage?
Yeah, very good question. What you mean is carotid Doppler. So carotid Doppler can find out whether your arteries have disease or not. And that is one way to find out whether you have arterial disease or not. Unfortunately, large studies have found, though carotid arteries can be checked very easily, but the carotid intima media thickness does not give a great predictive value for the events that can come in future. So we don't encourage, but it's a good idea to do it. If there are plaques or blockages that can be picked up very non-invasively and easily. So I think that's a good idea, carotid Doppler. Right?
So Akshay Bhai, are you saying that that could be one of the things that age 70 plus should suggest to the doctor? Okay.
Yes, you can.
That's good to know. Second question is how to handle pulmonary hypertension.
Oh my God, that's a very, very important and a very important disease to treat. Fortunately, you see, when we were students, whenever we had such patients of pulmonary hypertension, their lifespan was not more than 5 years.
No.
But now we have wonderful drugs, and there are 4 or 5 classes of drugs which we can give. And depending on the cause of pulmonary hypertension, they can be treated very well and stabilized. Yeah.
So subset of that is, Akshay Bhai, how do you handle that along with obstructive sleep apnea?
Yes, so obstructive sleep apnea, also again, we have to find out the cause and treat it. Sometimes there are correctable causes like alcohol, smoking, obesity. You correct them and your sleep apnea can regress. So again, lifestyle is very important. And sometimes you have to use measures like continuous positive pressure ventilation. The person has to use a mask, so high flow oxygen air flows in and keeps the passages open. So that can be used for the sleep apnea people, and the pulmonary hypertension can come down. So both lifestyle changes and the continuous pressure ventilation. Yeah.
So under those conditions, one should get, I guess, sleep studies done, right? Before knowing really whether one has sleep apnea or not.
If you are somebody who is snoring a lot, very loudly, and in the daytime is drowsy, goes to sleep very easily. Yeah, all those sleep studies.
The other question is that what kinds of tests do you recommend to detect blockage? So, before this heart attack or a
Yeah.
cardiac.
So this is the most commonly asked question, that
Right.
how do you diagnose silent disease?
Correct.
A very simple way is to do a CT angiography. Okay, that will tell us whether your coronary arteries are open or normal or abnormal. But doing coronary CT angiography is not very practical, because one is the cost, of course, that may not be so important in a people like we have here. But the other thing is that it exposes you to some radiation. That is number one. And number two, if your kidneys are borderline functioning, you are getting that dye or that liquid inside, which may damage the kidneys.
Right.
So I would not recommend it to everybody, but for some people who are at higher risk, whom we want to know whether there are underlying blockages or not, then CT angiography is a good method. But an indirect way of knowing is to calculate your risk factors, like whether you are a hypertensive, diabetic, smoker, whether you have pulse, your blood pressure difference between the upper limb and the lower limb, etc. So, so there are indirect ways of knowing, and the direct way is by doing a CT angiography or an invasive angiography also. But nobody does invasive angiography for a person without symptoms. But that is one way to do it. So we have to kind of choose very selectively some people on whom we can do these tests. Okay? And for the majority, it is done by calculating the risk factors, the risk markers, and then going ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, Akshay. But then there are a couple of questions which are, in my mind, a bit more personal, whether somebody is taking certain medications or someone who had a particular percentage of pumping of the heart, like let's say 20 years ago to whatever has happened today. Respectfully, I ask those individuals who they know, who I'm referring to, if you don't mind, just ask those questions directly to Akshay Bhai or via Shati. I'm not sure whether, I need to ask certain medication, specific medication questions in public.
They can contact Akshay. We can give them the number.
Yeah, I could read those questions. I think one
that's
was
right. That's right.
Ripatha.
Correct.
So these are very new drugs, very costly drugs, and they are given when the person's cholesterol cannot come down with statins, and the person is at high risk. And when that happens, this injection has to be given. It could be once in 2 weeks. There are some once in a month. So these injections will bring down the cholesterol, but they are very, very costly. A year's treatment may cost lakhs of rupees. So only if statins don't work, these have to be taken. Okay.
Yeah, good. I'm glad that I forgot that you can read the questions as well. So let me ask one of mine that I know every year that women have a different set of symptoms than males do for related. So would you mind just giving a couple of seconds on that, or a couple of minutes on that?
Very, 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 very important. Yeah, very important. In fact, you see, majority of women have the same symptoms as men. It's only about 20% of women which have different symptoms. Like they don't have the typical chest pain. Instead of that, they may have gas, lump, indigestion, vomiting, jaw pain, back pain, and fatigue. So these are the symptoms some women get. They don't get chest pain at all. They may get just breathlessness and vomiting. They may get just gas in the upper abdomen. So that's why the problem in women is that the diagnosis doesn't happen fast. The treatment is delayed, and hence the mortality of heart attack in women is more than in men. So this is a very important question you raised, and thank God you raised this question. And this, for the women, it is very important to know that if there is anything abnormal going on in the chest or in the throat or vomiting or indigestion, which is unusual, you must report to the doctor and get a cardiogram done, right? So I think that's very important.
No, thank you, because that's always, and this is important that other males in the family should know this as well.
Should know, yes.
They can
should not ignore the women.
They can recognize. I think we sort of managed to get through
Right.
questions which are on chat, but again, everyone is quite welcome to raise hand or unmute yourself. And I'm sure Akshay Bhai would be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, sure.
And I know there is going to be a recording of this, so we'll make sure that with Akshay Bhai's due permission, we'll also share that as and how
Sure.
it's requested, so that we
Sure.
won't clutter up the box. So Akshay Bhai, you did mention certain tests, particularly related to blood markers, I think, and urine
Right,
and so
right,
forth.
right.
What
right.
are some of these other key tests that one should do, specifically much more on preventive side, let's say at
Yes.
age 70 and above?
Yeah. So many times if your cholesterol is kind of borderline, you don't know whether it is high or, so many times we do additional cholesterol test called ApoB test. Then there is a test, this high sensitivity troponin. Usually it is a measure of damage to the heart, but many times silent damages occur in normal people also. And in normal looking people also, high sensitivity troponin, if it is high, that is a predictor of events like cardiac events in future. So troponins can be done, ApoB can be done, high sensitivity CRP can be done. CRP is a measure of inflammation in your body. And as you know, inflammation in the body is kind of a starting point of problems. Is a starting point of having inflammation in the coronary arteries and blockages in the coronary arteries. So a sense of inflammation can be noted by doing a high sensitivity CRP levels, right? So CRP, high sensitivity troponins, and ApoB are additional tests that can be done.
I see. Wow. No, thank you.
But I think it should be selectively done, depending, you should chat with your doctor, and if he advises, then can be done. Yeah.
I know, I guess the balance is really to not panic and add stress thinking about de-stressing. It's one of those. So we've got to continue to enjoy our lives and so forth, right? While being very...
Asmita, can I ask a question?
Yes,
Naveen.
please.
Dr. Akshay, I'm Naveen Podar, friend of Sachin. Just want to know this troponin, high sensitivity troponin, which you're saying the test. Isn't it lately in the market, like in the last 2 years or 3 years? Because before that, it was not there.
Yes, it is lately there, and it is one of the very important tests in diagnosing cardiac pain. When you have chest pain and you go to a hospital, they take your cardiogram, and cardiogram may be normal, but your pain is quite typical. So in a few hours of chest pain, if the heart has the slightest damage, the troponins go up. And we repeat the test over 2 hours or 3 hours. And if it is a rising troponin, that means you have a cardiac problem. Your chest pain is due to a cardiac thing. And you need to be given certain drugs like anti-clotting drugs, aspirin, clopidogrel, etc., to settle your pain. And maybe you require an angiography, etc. So it is a good test to do. But we have found now that not only it is good in people with chest pain, but even with people who are normal without any pain, if it is a borderline also high, it's a risk marker. It suggests that you have a higher risk.
What are the parameters? What are the parameters, doc?
Well, there are different tests by different laboratories, and they have their own normal levels. For example, high sensitivity troponin, 14 nanograms per liter is the cutoff, whereas high sensitivity troponin I has 0.5 nanograms, something like that.
Okay.
So they have cutoff level.
Doc, one personal question from me. Asmita, sorry. Can I ask a personal question? Now, I am a confirmed heart patient. I've had 3 attacks till now. The first one I had in 1990, when my pumping fraction was about 45%.
Right.
And 94, I got a ballooning done because that time stents had just come into the market.
Right.
And now when I had my third attack in July 21, that time I put a stent.
Right.
But my pumping fraction increased to 47%.
Good. Great.
So how's that?
So because your stented artery, which was narrowed,
Yeah,
Maybe
really opened
reducing
up.
the pumping, maybe reducing the blood supply to the heart muscle, and the heart muscle was weak. So they have strengthened your heart muscle by opening the artery.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
But
Actually, I don't want to miss an important question that has come up, that an individual here on the screen has a kidney transplant. Are there very specific care that should be taken?
Good question. No, I think the same things: controlling blood pressure, controlling cholesterol, not smoking, of course, and having a healthy lifestyle. I think these are the important things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think pandemic has certainly created, back to this stress, de-stressing, right? Ability to go out, meet with friends, some of those indicators or factors, they've kind of obviously have disappeared for a while. So we have to be particularly aware. So any other individual, this is still a few minutes.
I have.
Valentine, go ahead, please.
I have questions. What are the previous, early chemistry tests that we done to prevent the heart attack?
Yeah, as I mentioned, these simple things like your sugar test, your cholesterol test, and as I mentioned, the high sensitivity troponins. These are the tests one can do to know how much risk you are at and whether in future you may get a problem or not. So high sensitivity CRP, troponins, these are the tests that one can do.
Thank you, doctor.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Chetan. And I sometimes feel skip beats. What are your views or advice?
See, Mr. Chetan, skip beats are a very common thing. Some people feel them, some people don't feel them. If you record everybody's heartbeats, you will find almost 60 to 70% of people having skip beats. If your cardiogram is taken of everybody for 24 hours. So skip beat is a very normal thing. You don't have to worry unless you have additional heart problems like enlarged heart or ischemic heart, that means coronary artery disease, or valve disease. If you have these things, you have none of these things, then purely having skip beats should not worry you, should not be a problem. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chetan. Sorry, I'd missed repeating that question.
I have one more last question.
Okay.
Refata, if you stop taking Refata, what would happen to your cholesterol? It will go up and you need immediate.
Yes, it will go up. Yeah.
So you have to take it every time, every 15 days.
Yes. Sure.
Akshay, by 2 seconds on LBB.
LBB, left bundle branch block. Now this is a block. This should not. Now many times we write in the report some bundle branch block, and people are worried there is a block in my artery or what. No, it is not the block in your artery. See, just like our homes, our house has a water pipes and has electric wires. In the same way, our heart has water pipes, blood pipes, which are coronary arteries, and the heart has also nerves which conduct electricity. So these nerves are blocked, and that is called left bundle branch block or right bundle branch block. If the left bundle is blocked, it's called left bundle branch block. And then what happens is that electricity travels in the heart from top to bottom through these wires. If the right bundle branch is blocked, the electricity travels through the left bundle branch and supplies the whole heart. So in the acute stage, there is no issue. It doesn't matter if you have left bundle branch or right bundle branch block. But in future, problems can occur, and hence it is important to have frequent follow-ups with your doctor and get yourself tested.
Okay, thank you. Good advice. So basically, we've got to have a list of all the doctors' names on the refrigerator. Akshay bhai, I have yours now on mine.
Sure.
Thank you so very much. Sachin, how about I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes, I think it was a very interesting talk, Akshay. So nice. I mean, I have this length heard the first talk of yours, though you have given about 1,000 of them. And I'm so impressed that now I'm going to follow your advice to
Wow.
the P. Yes,
Wow.
I am.
and
I
Hima-
think it is. No, really. And I think you are also the person who has so far kept my heart young. So I'm very, I'm definitely going to be, I'm going to
Thank
follow
you.
you.
Right.
Well, thanks a lot for coming in, and all my
Thank
friends here who have really supported the talk. There are about 50 of them here who have really come and shown interest, and there are almost 100 people, 82 we were, plus some of them are two of them together. So about 100 of them us here. This is very nice. I'm sure you all have benefited with this lovely, interesting talk.
And special
Well,
thanks to New Era classmates as well, because
Yes,
that's the
of course.
first time we have actually, and Akshay, it was great to know your connection, your family's connection.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Yeah.
a great school. Okay, with that, we wish you good night and stay well,
Okay.
stay healthy.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes,
Akshay,
yes.
very, very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you,
so much.
Asmita.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.